Hello, everyone, and welcome to Metro Matters. I'm Mary Sitt. For people with disabilities, getting around can be a huge problem. Creating mobility for the disabled community is something Metro takes seriously, and our show today focuses on making public transportation easier for people with disabilities. Our first guest is Tim Mills, Chief Engineer at Metro, who oversees revamping hundreds of our bus stops, making them accessible for everyone. Tim, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
First of all, tell me, what is Metro doing exactly to make the bus stops more ADA compliant?
We have a big undertaking going on right now where we've gone and evaluated all of our bus stops to see what their status is.
And when you say all, you're looking at almost 10,000 bus stops
correct.
across the region, right?
Correct. We're just short of 10,000 bus stops. We've gone out and taken a look at each of those stops to figure out if it's compliant or if it doesn't meet the criteria, what needs to be done to bring that up to current ADA standards. And then from there, we're going forward with making improvements to those bus stops.
Okay, so tell me exactly what is Metro doing to make those bus stops better?
So we have a board-approved bus stop standard that we're applying at all of our bus stops, and that includes a front door landing pad, which is the minimum requirement for ADA compliance, and that's a 5-foot by 8-foot deep concrete pad that allows a person to get from the sidewalk onto the bus on a paved surface.
When you say front door, is the front door of the bus?
Front door of
so
the bus.
So the person can leave from the front door directly to the landing pad?
Right, onto a paved landing pad, which connects into the sidewalk. Now, in addition to that, we're also placing a shelter pad, an area that we can place a trash can, and then a backdoor landing pad to cover the back door of the bus. And then we're tying all that back into the existing sidewalk. So we're going above and beyond what we need to do to meet the ADA requirements and putting out more to improve the customer experience.
This is a huge, huge, ambitious project.
Absolutely.
So you're doing it over years, right? 4 to 5 years or
Yes.
10 years? What's your horizon?
We've taken a look at anywhere from a 3 to 5 year window all the way out to 10 years. It's going to be dependent on the board-approved budget each year. This year we're looking at constructing 350 stops, and then each year we'll have a new goal for design and construction as we move forward.
Tim, what factors go into deciding which stops get renovated first?
We did an evaluation of all our bus stops based on something called the Transit Need Index, and that takes U.S. Census data, and it looks at things like percent ADA riders, population density, employment density, various factors like that, and assigns a score to each bus stop based on a weighted scoring system that we had set up, and it ranks everything on a very high to low scale. The second one was a ridership-based evaluation. We just looked at the number of boardings and alightings at each stop.
Is the Transit Need Index based on the U.S. Census report, all that
Correct,
information?
yeah,
Okay.
and the American Community Survey, federal census information, things like that.
And then after you do those two evaluations, the transit need and then ridership, do you also look at the actual physical spot? Like what maybe it has a big transit need, but there's no way to build that landing pad on that strip. I mean, when does that come into play? Whether it's physically able to do something like that.
That gets in more to the design. So once we have the priority set with the transit need, and then within that transit need, we'll then further sort it by its ridership, so we can get the ones with the highest transit need with the highest ridership. And then once we have that, we'll work off that list, and then we'll do a site assessment for each site, and then that's when we get down into the details of what does this site need to look like? Can we get everything in here? What constraints are out there? And then it's just a site by site case of,
because not every single site is transformable, so to speak, right?
Well, I mean, we need to get that 5x landing pad in there. So now there could be places where we can't get the shelter pad, or we can't get the backdoor coverage, or some sites we have to shift up the street, down the street, go far side of the intersection based on there's any number of constraints out there.
How important is it for Metro to work with the City of Houston on this project?
It's very important, and they've been great partners with us. We've been working hand in hand with them. We've made a lot of improvements to the process. They've allowed us to complete our designs without going through the permitting process over at the city, which has greatly sped up the process of how fast we can turn a design around and get it into construction.
Tim, Metro is not responsible for sidewalks. Metro doesn't do sidewalks,
Correct.
right? We just do the bus stops.
Yeah.
So who's responsible for the sidewalks that lead to the bus stops?
They're the responsibility of the city or the county or TxDOT, whoever maintains that roadway facility.
Tim, making these bus stops accessible for the disabled is really making it accessible for everybody. Can you comment about that?
Sure. As we're moving forward with this program, it's not just a disabled issue. We look at it as a universal accessibility issue, which is making it accessible for all riders, whether they're a mom with a stroller or someone in a walker.
Somebody carting groceries on a
Sure.
little wheeled cart, right?
Absolutely, just anyone out. We want to make sure we've got enough space out there to accommodate anyone that wants to ride our system.
And how long does it take to renovate a bus stop in general?
Generally about 1 week from when we get in, break ground, form everything up, construct it, clean the site up, and get out. It's about a week.
Tim, thank you so much for being with us and telling us about this project.
All right, thank you.
Good luck.
All right.
Coming up next, if you have friends or family who are disabled and have never used public transportation, we have special trainers who will give personal instructions and ride with your loved ones on the bus and train. Details right after this.
Metro offers people choices. They listen to our voices. Transit improves our quality of life. Shorter commute times, far less strife. Emergencies strike. Metro stands tall. Evacuations, assistance, heeding the call. $3.2 billion in sidewalks and streets. 113 million rides. Climb aboard, take a seat. Metro's leading the way toward a better tomorrow and today.
It was the largest rainfall in U.S. history. The region was underwater and people needed our help. I worked with first responders throughout the night to evacuate folks, young and old, trapped by the flood. So much water. It was hard to tell where the road began or ended. People would cry, laugh, even clap when they saw us arrive. They call us heroes, but we were just helping our neighbors. It's what we do at Metro.
My name is Martina, and I ride Metro's 244 Monroe parking ride. I've been taking the parking ride for 10 years.
Good morning, Marty.
And it really has its benefits. Everybody has his or her thing. There's the
I
gamers,
just got a legendary.
the mobile office devotees,
Sell.
and the nappers. But me, I can sit back, relax, and save time and money with Metro. My name is Martina, and this is my Metro. Plan your trip at ridemetro.org.
Our story starts here, where 4 million people will move by 2040. That's like everyone from Austin, Corpus Christi, San Antonio, Arlington, and Dallas. Think of the traffic. We've got to do something. And transportation is key.
You asked Metro for a transit plan that provides faster connections and a better customer experience. Now we need input on a new plan before it's final.
Let's continue the conversation.
Find a meeting at metronext.org.
If you've never taken public transportation, and in our car culture in Houston, that's not so far-fetched, then it might be intimidating the first time. Imagine if you had to negotiate a wheelchair, or if you use a seeing eye dog. Metro has a team of travel trainers who specialize in teaching people with disabilities how to ride our system. All our local buses and trains are accessible, and here to tell us more is Jamie Williams, a travel mobility coordinator here. Thanks for being with us, Jamie.
Thank you.
First of all, let's talk about our buses. How are they accessible?
All of our buses come equipped with ramps or lifts. We also have automatic audio and visual announcers that let someone who is visually impaired or someone who's hard of hearing know what the next major stop is that's coming up or where their stop may be where they want to exit the bus.
And we have kneeling buses.
Yes, all of our buses have the kneeling features.
Which means they go lower automatically?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we have square bus poles too, is that right, at the bus stops?
Yes, for people who are visually impaired, that's their way to identify that that is a bus stop and as opposed to being a stop sign or some other stop.
Tell me about our trains.
All of our trains are 100% accessible as well. There is an audio announcer that lets each patron know when the next train will be arriving. Each rail car has a total of 4 spots where people that are in wheelchairs or that have walkers can be seated safely on the rail.
Okay. And tell me about the little white bumps we have on the platform.
Those are an indicator to someone who's visually impaired to stand behind those bumps. Do not stand on them. It's just a safety precaution for those who are visually impaired or totally blind.
Okay. And then the doors that shut automatically, they are sensitive to motion, so if it detects an object or person there, it will stop. Is that correct?
I've seen people swinging purses and canes thinking that they're motion sensor, and they're not. All you have to do is just apply a little pressure to them and the doors will open, and that keeps them from closing in on a patron or on an object.
Okay. So if someone doesn't know how to use public transportation, what do you as a trainer do?
I teach people who are disabled and seniors how to successfully and independently get around on all of our transit systems, Metro Rail and Metro Bus.
Jamie, what is their biggest fear when they start the training with you?
Their biggest fear is just the not knowing. They're not familiar with how to navigate the system. They're afraid they'll miss their stop, or that they just won't know when the bus is coming. And so what the travel training program does is we take all of the legwork out. We go out, we assess the routes, make sure that there are sidewalks in place for people who are in mobility devices.
You sort of pre-travel it for them. They tell you
Yes.
where they want to go from point A to point B.
Yes, that's part of the travel training program. Is we do an assessment to see where our customer skill level is and if they've ever ridden a bus. If not, then we just teach them all of the features and help them safely navigate the bus service.
Tell me about some of the training that the trainers had, training for the trainers, where you actually experienced what the patrons experienced.
When I first became a mobility coordinator, I was sent to Washington, D.C., where I went out on the streets and I had to learn about the crosswalks, the speed bumps, those little dots that you were saying that are on the rail platforms. I had to learn what those were, and just to get an experience of what the customers deal with on the day-to-day who have disabilities.
And did you also have to put blindfolds on just to see what it would be like if you had no sight?
Yes, that was a challenge. You'd be amazed sitting there trying to eat your meal and being blindfolded trying to do so, or trying to navigate a bus system. I can only imagine what those customers would go through.
So it created a lot of empathy.
Yes, a lot.
Okay, so what do people tell you after they finish the training?
Most people tell me that they're very satisfied with the training because, like I said before, it's the fear of trying to navigate the bus system. And once they do the travel training, all of that is gone. They're apprehensive and they're ready to go.
And they like that independence.
They love that independence. They love it.
Just tap that cue card and go.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it very difficult to get a reservation with Metro for travel training?
No, it isn't. We ask that the customer call in advance, let us know where they want to go. And like I said, we go out, we do the scouting of the route, make sure that there's no construction going on, because we live in Houston and there's construction everywhere. So we make sure that there's no type of environmental barriers that can prohibit the person from safely navigating the service.
So they can send an email to reserve a spot or just call a phone number? What's the phone number?
The phone number to call is 713-750-4234.
Does this cost anything?
No, the training is absolutely free. And again, it is for anyone who wants options when it comes to their transportation needs.
Do you have to have a disability to do this, or can you just be an older person who's never taken transit before?
Travel training is geared mostly for MetroLift customers who, of course, are disabled and our seniors.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on, Jamie.
Thank you for having me.
That's all for this edition of Metro Matters. Be sure to join the conversation on our blog at ridemetro.org, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. I'm Mary Sitt. Thanks for watching.
My name is Ileana. I'm an architectural designer and an accessibility specialist. I swam for Team USA in the 2012 Paralympics. Since then, my life hasn't slowed down, so I ride Metro's 82 Westheimer. And with buses arriving every 6 to 10 minutes, it's perfect for business, swim practice, or wherever the day takes me. I'm Ileana, and this is my Metro. Discover what's next at ridemetro.org.